Hello there, my name is Robert Larson. I'm an attorney and I'm also the owner of the Larson Law Office in Mesa, Arizona. And today I wanted to talk about mediation in family court. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is I actually went through a couple of mediations this week in some family court cases, and so it's been fresh on my mind. And when it comes to mediation, one thing to remember is that most cases in family court are going to be resolved outside the courtroom. So that could be something where the two parties have settlement negotiations, whether in writing or in person, and they come to agreements, or it could sometimes involve a third party, and that's where mediation comes in. So mediation is basically where you meet with a third party, and that person acts as a facilitator between the two parties to try to help them come to agreements. And mediation is often very successful. Most cases don't go to trial in family court. I'd say probably 90% or more of cases get settled at some point along the way without a trial. Some cases can be settled very quickly and easily because the two sides are pretty close from the beginning. Other times people have positions that are pretty far apart from each other, and that's where a third party can be helpful. And so today I just wanted to talk a little bit about the process of mediation, and there's just a few things I always try to make sure people remember when they're going through mediation. One thing is to be prepared. You can't really do a mediation successfully if you don't have the information you need. So that means both sides need to exchange relevant documentation and evidence about issues that are relevant. So a lot of times that's financial information, especially if it's a divorce. Both sides need to know what the assets and debts are and the incomes of both parties and things like that. Even in a custody case, you still may not be dealing with assets and debts so much, but you're still having to deal with income so that you can calculate child support and figure out some things like that. And so you need to have, if you have children together, you need to have information about insurance and if there's any accusations about parenting ability, things like that. You need to have all your evidence presented to the other side so that both parties can go into the mediation with all the information they need, because it's very difficult to make decisions if you're lacking information that is critical to making those kinds of decisions. So one is information. The second thing I would say is go in with an open mind. You want to be willing to consider whatever options are put on the table. And it could be an option that you would never agree with, but you still want to be able to consider everything, because once you get in the mode of considering different options, it opens up ideas and allows you to become creative and come up with solutions that work best for you and your family. Whereas if you go into the court, the judge is going to issue orders the best he or she can, but they're not going to get very creative with things. They're just going to do what they think is best, and they're not going to try to make orders that have a lot of details that work best for your family. And anyway, the third thing I would say is know what your bottom line is. So you don't want to go into mediation in a situation where you don't know what you're willing to accept, or you haven't really thought about what your goals are. So you want to make sure you have goals, and that you know, if I can accomplish this or that, then that's something that's acceptable to me. Or if I don't accomplish this or that or whatever it is, if you can't get a certain thing that is absolutely critical, then you're not going to agree to anything if you don't get basically the baseline of what you would consider to be a successful mediation. The fourth thing I would also tell people to remember is that any fair agreement is not going to feel good. So if you're waiting to get some kind of settlement that gives you everything you want without giving anything up, that's never going to happen. So you don't want to be unrealistic. You want to go into mediation knowing that you're going to have to compromise if you're going to get a settlement. A settlement basically means that you're giving up something in order to get something else in return. And it's never going to feel good, and so you need to be able to prepare yourself mentally to make difficult decisions that are not ideal. You're choosing between sometimes one bad option and another bad option. And so you have to figure out what's best. And there is value in being done and knowing that you don't have to go to trial and things like that. So you want to be able to put yourself in that mindset going into it, that you know you're going to be making difficult decisions and that you're not going to get everything you want. And if you do those things, if you're prepared and you are willing to consider all the different options, you go into it willing to make difficult decisions, although you know there's a certain baseline of if you don't get certain things, you're absolutely going to walk away. then you can avoid a trial, and more importantly, you can regain the control in your life to at least have some say in what your final orders are going to be when it comes to a divorce or custody case, as opposed to giving up that control to a judge who doesn't know your family anywhere near as well as you do, has very little time to make decisions that are going to affect your life much more than the judge's life. And you know what? I hope no judges see this, but the fact is sometimes judges make mistakes and sometimes they make bad decisions, and you don't want to give them that ability to make bad decisions that affect your life. So anyway, that's kind of the mediation process. We went through that a couple of times this week, and it's difficult. It's kind of grueling for people sometimes, but when we get through it successfully, it accomplishes a lot. And so anyway, if you ever have any questions, you feel free to call. If you found this video helpful, then like and follow so that you can get more in the future. And until next time, I'll talk to you later.